Vulcanus, a triangle with an arrow shooting upwards, resembling a volcanic explosion, alluding to massive energy potential. In Greek myth, Vulcanus was the son of Zeus and Hera. Deformed from birth, he was exiled from Mount Olympus as a child and tossed into the sea, where sea nymphs rescued, raised, and taught him many skills. Vulcanus distinguished himself through his aptitude with metals, where he used the energy of fire and became a smithing god. He served as the blacksmith to the gods, and it is thought that almost any finely wrought metalwork imbued with powers that appears in Greek myth is said to have been forged by Vulcanus. The Greek myths seem to sanctify in stories that Vulcanus had special powers to produce motion. Vulcanus worked with his strength and an anvil, where energies of massive proportion are channeled. So in a chart, Vulcanus represents a very masculine energy, great strength, brute force, vitality, and good recuperative powers. It's the athlete with the powerful physique. Yet when it's weak or insecure or manifesting negatively, Vulcanus is capable of brutality and violence. So let's take a look at Vulcanus operating powerfully in a few birth charts. On first inspection in Pistorius' chart, we find just what we think we would find, and that is Vulcanus, the planet of energy, might, brute force, and power, in alignment with his sun. And remember, the sun's not only what we want to radiate and how we distinguish ourselves, but also it represents vitality and the physical body. And here's another indication as well with the Sun-Mars midpoint structure, which is the midpoint of energy, virility, determination, ambition, in alignment with Vulcanus as well. So all is good and well here, but this is where things really get interesting when we go to the meridian. And remember, the meridian is like a snapshot of the soul. It's the point of individuality. We have that same Vulcanus energy in a midpoint structure, but with Hades. And the Hades energy tends to drag whatever it comes into contact with into the underworld. Now, Hades often deals with primal issues, sickness, death, decay, deformities, and indeed, around 11 months old, Pistorius had his legs amputated midway between his knees and his ankles. Now, this would have had a profound effect on Pistorius because, don't forget, between the ages of 9 and 12 months is when a baby takes his first steps. So there was a tremendous primal, primitive wounding. And you can even see in the chart that around 11 months, he was very impacted by this major change in his life, but in a very primal way. So when we have Vulcanus, that planet of energy, might, force, dragged into the underworld by Hades, it's taken on a very dark path, and that Vulcanus Hades can manifest as quite deep, early primal fears around his vulnerability, which can turn to anger and aggression. And the planet Pluto, which is the planet of death and rebirth, it's a planet of transformation, closely contacts his meridian axis in his natal birth chart, which means that it's also contacting that Vulcanus Hades. So this is another indication of a lot of transformation that's needed in this area around his emotional issues. This next chart is the chart of professional golfer Tiger Woods, another athlete, but the Vulcanus operates here quite differently than you would assume. While it still does make a connection as it sits right next to the sun, which is the physical body, it expands his athletic prowess. But where we find a much more powerful structure is around two of the most important personal points, which are the Meridian and the Ascendant. The Meridian being the soul's essence, the point of individuality, and the Ascendant being his environment, the people in his environment, how he presents himself to the world and how others see him. It's a point of personal relationship. So here we find Vulcanus in a midpoint structure with the planet Kronos. Vulcanus, again, that planet of energy, might, brute force, and power. Here it's paired with and energizing the planet Kronos. Now, Kronos deals with everything high up, above average, authority, bureaucracies, heads of state, or someone who's just a real expert at something. So Vulcanus here adds power, momentum, and force to the executive power of the Kronos, and around the Meridian we end up with someone who really possesses great esteem and influence, someone who is very much an authority or an expert. And around his Ascendant, someone who both presents himself as an authority, and since it's the environment, he has powerful, influential people around him. Now, add in Mercury, which deals with thinking and communication, to that Vulcanus Kronos midpoint structure in this three-point picture, and we get Mercury Vulcanus. Powerful, exerted thinking, a very strong ability to think fast. Now, here amidst this powerful structure of this three-point picture sits Neptune. Now, Neptune is a very watery planet, and it attunes oneself to great sensitivity to energy, not just sensitivity to feelings, but to energetic vibration. So that powerful thinking blended with a great energetic sensitivity equals intuition, which is quite beneficial not only on the golf course, but particularly someone who can handle themselves very well in the golfing community amongst other players. And because Neptune deals with non-concrete reality, things unseen, I think it's also telling us of someone who keeps things pretty close to the vest, who can give the impression that is very different than they actually are. And this is also where Tiger's intense privacy is rooted, Vulcanus energizing that unseen dimension even more. If you enjoyed learning about Vulcanus and want to find out where it's located in your own natal birth chart, just go to my website, theuranianastrologer.com, and select the tab, The Transneptunians, where you'll find directions on how to obtain a free Western style or traditional chart with all the Transneptunians in it. And to take a video tour of the 7 other Transneptunians, you can visit me at YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Twitter, or visit my website, theuranianastrologer.com.